This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, you know, I love Valley Girl, and I love the soundtrack to Valley Girl as well. In fact, I've had 4 people from that movie come on here. I've had Joanne Barron's been a guest on here. Michelle Mayrink's come on here. The lovely Heidi Holika, whom I'm still in contact with, has been on here. Well, tonight we're getting into the musical side of Valley Girl because we have the lovely, the beautiful, the talented, the awesome Josie Cotton with us. How do you do, Josie?
Hi, Greg. I'm good. I'm finally talking to you, so that's a great accomplishment here.
Well, I want to say a special shout out to your manager, Bruce, for setting this up. And who's the woman that was calling me before?
Oh, Gina.
Gina.
She works for me and is also a friend. She's incredible.
Okay, I want to say a special thanks to both of them, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, it's always great to work with people and make things connect. So, I assure them both you'll be treated valuable on here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Wow. I'm from the New Brunswick, Canada area. Have you ever been up this way before?
I was in Toronto, did a show up there, but I've never been to that part of Canada. It's on the east, right?
Yeah, we're 4 hours ahead of you.
Oh, wow.
You see, Toronto's 3 hours ahead of you. I'm
I
4. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people
ahead of me, anyway.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know that there's one ahead of of Toronto, but we are.
That's funny. It's huge. Canada is gigantic.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've lived in New Brunswick my whole life, but it wasn't until 2017 I interviewed Lisa Langlois, who was in class of 1984, and she was in Joy of Sex with Heidi, and she invited me to assist her at Horrorama, and I'd never been to a city like that before, and I had such a blast helping her at her table, and made some other connections for interviews. It's like, I want to do more of that.
Yeah, big city.
Yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of culture, and it expanded my horizon because I've always gotten homesick just going to Moncton or St. John from Fredericton, and they're just a few hours away. Toronto, I feel at home when I'm there, when I go there, and I've been there a couple times since, you know, so yeah, love that.
Yeah, I loved it too. I did the gay pride up there a few years back, and it was lovely. Yeah,
speaking of gay pride, can you tell us, is Johnny queer? Is Johnny queer?
Well,
for those that are listening, you know, I'm not using slang here. She's got a song called "Johnny, Are You Queer?" and it's got a funny video with a guy in glasses.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was not interested in me. That much I knew.
That's unfortunate because you're a catch.
But you know, I was more doing that as, you know, a character, because I was totally known. The character I play in that song, she's clueless, and I would have known immediately. So that's where we're different.
I think there's a few things he wasn't knowing, like why all this attention?
Yeah, he was a little, you know, unworldly in that way also.
Who was the actor that played the square guy?
Oh my God! Now you caught me in something I really should. He's actually a famous actor here, and has done many movies and TV shows. He's a big environmentalist. Oh no, maybe it'll come to me. Yeah, he's. Oh boy.
Well, I gotta say, it was fun. I loved his get-up, you know, with the glasses and very Clark Kentish, you know.
Yeah, no, he was so fun, and I think he was just more of a gangly nerd guy, than anything. I don't even think that guy was gay. He was just very nervous around girls, really extremely nervous around girls.
Well, I can relate. I'm not gay, but I get nervous around girls.
Yeah, well, I don't think that nervousness ever goes away. I get nervous around guys I like, and it's not helpful to have that shyness, I guess you call it.
Yeah. Well, before we talk about Valley Girl and your music, give us a little bit of your background and how it was that you come to want to be a singer and a musician.
Yeah. Well, I just really started singing in choirs in my school. It was an all-girls school, and I just fell in love with singing, and just continued it, and then started playing in bands and writing music. I was actually writing before I started singing, I wanted to be a backup singer. Really, I wanted to write songs and be a backup singer. I didn't really have goals of being out on on my own. Like, I didn't have dreams of fame and all that. I wanted to be more in the background, and then that kind of switched around. I came out from Texas to California, and met some producers who had happened to have written this song, Johnny Are You Queer? They were making a demo for it, and I just thought that song was insane, and I just loved it. I was just laughing. I didn't even know why it was so funny, because I grew up all with gay people, but there was just something so innocent and lovely about the comedy of it. I mean, really, it was just shocking to hear it. And so, and after that, we got a deal. Actually, from that demo, that record is the original demo we made for their publishing company. But before that, they had been working with the Go-Go's. These were the Payne brothers who wrote the song, and they worked with the Go-Go's for a couple of years in a production team, and that was their song. That was their last song on every show they did, and they parted ways, and the Paynes took their song back, and then they were looking for a singer, and I just happened to run into them at a certain point in a bank line. One of those Hollywood stories.
Yeah, no, it is funny, the song, you hear a lot of songs, not just today, but any era, love songs, and you hear them and you forget them, One of the great things about a song like Johnny Are You Queer, it's something that you don't hear about in the radio. You get these songs every once in a while that come along. I remember Don't Worry, Be Happy by Bobby McFerrin, that come along that are not quite in the same loop as everything else playing,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing about this song, that was just, people ask me, well, how does it, how are you going to follow up on Johnny Are You Queer? And it was such a big hit, but the thing is, it was so much more than a hit song. I mean, it really wasn't a hit song. It was just infamous, and it was more, I liken it to an atom bomb, because it blew the roof off of people's what they thought was okay, and radio. I was banned all over the place, and it was taken as an affront to a lot of the fundamentalist religious people. Thought I was actually a gay man and promoting homosexuality, and then the Catholic Church banned me. I was banned in Amsterdam. I mean, it got nuts. It was like, what is going on? And people were afraid of it. My record company, even though they signed me because of Elektra Records, but they got very nervous, and they pulled the records from the stores. They actually killed what was going to be a hit record because it got approved to have a beep on it for AM radio. Johnny, are you beep? So that would have been that, and they were terrified. There was a corporate backlash, and even some political groups, gay groups, were not happy about it in the East Coast of the United States. But in the West Coast, there was an anthem. They loved it, and I think it diffused that word so much, and people were happy when they heard that song. It freed people. I never quite understood what the effect it was, but it was, people have not forgotten that song. They just can't let that memory go. Everyone has a different story when they first heard it, and I've heard them all. A lot of gay guys have come out after they heard that song. They thought it was okay to be gay, and I think that's my favorite. If there's a legacy to be had, I think that would be my favorite one. That was.
I come from a Christian home, and I read my Bible and stuff. But here's one thing I have a real issue with when it comes to the church. See, I was bullied a lot when I was growing up. Yeah. So even though I'm straight, it doesn't make any sense for me to bully people who aren't straight, because I kind of know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. Right. And I know people that are gay that I'm perfectly fine with having a conversation with, or having a cup of coffee with, or whatever, I have no problem with that. But I find with the church, and believe me, I've had my odds with the church, I think the problem is they make things worse for themselves. Because I don't think any of them, at least not from what I'm seeing, are following Jesus the way they claim to. In fact, I find a lot of it's about money.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about it. I'm not real religious, but I know that Jesus hung out with hookers.
Yep.
Like he did not judge people. So,
nope.
That's something I think that's been lost. That part of Christianity, the acceptance part.
Yeah.
And there's room to grow in that sense.
Yeah. So I never throw the judgment out. I mean, I know I like women when it comes sexually speaking. Of course, I don't think they like me.
Oh, I don't believe you. I think you're charming.
I'm just joking. I'm playing the whole Rodney Dangerfield thing, but no, I don't know. Like, I see so many people in broken relationships. I'm like, yeah, what makes me think I'm going to succeed with it? Back in my parents' day, my parents are still together. They've been together for like some 50 years. And it's kind of like, that is lost on society. Today, that people are lucky to make it 5 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Or serial monogamy, is I guess if you can even make it that far, but
yeah,
it's I just think the more we accept everyone, the better off we are as a world. It's it has to become more like that. I'm hoping.
So the actor that played in the video, Johnny, Are You Queer? Is he like nervous around you now?
I haven't seen him in. I haven't seen him or talked to him in forever, but he was an unknown guy when he did that, and then it became like I just saw him everywhere. I was like, oh my God, that's my park bench pal.
Somebody said Josie Cotton's here. Okay, I'm gone.
Well, nobody knew who I was, before I did that song. So, but. Yeah, so, I mean, I actually did get offered deals if I would drop that song from IRS Records at the time. I just felt I didn't want to just compromise that early in my career, and so I just thought I'll just be the Johnny Are You Queer girl. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, Screeching Weasel covered that song as well.
I know they did. Screeching Weasel, I'm aware of that.
And they do a song called I Want to Be Homosexual.
I want to be a homosexual?
Yeah, they do a song. I actually have it on my phone. I think it's a funny song.
Oh,
but
that's funny. Yeah, I found when I was on MySpace originally, and I found the queers on there, and I sent them a message. You're welcome. They never responded.
No?
But yeah. So anyway, yeah. So it is a thing about the outsider and being bullied and that's actually connects perfectly with the Valley Girl movie. That's the whole, essence of that movie is someone who doesn't fit in, who's a guy who's more sensitive and not a sports guy, and the girls wants to be a cheerleader, but she's really more bohemian and it's that's one of the things I really did like about that movie, and I've heard from so many guys especially that taught them they could be individuals, and that was wonderful, to have that. It was a lot of guys came of age in that movie too, because they've all told me
well,
watching that movie they went into puberty like immediately or something.
Well, Valley Girl came out in 1983. I turned 11 that year, and I got asked, like, you performed "Johnny, Are You Queer" in the movie, and there another one of your songs is in that too.
Got two other ones. "School Is In" and "He Could Be the One."
He Could Be the One. That's right.
Yeah, that was actually a bigger hit than Johnny, because Johnny got banned and all that stuff. But "He Could Be the One" was much bigger for me.
How did you get involved in Valley Girl?
Well, it is. The song had already been on K-Rock. It had already been. I think it was #2 on K-Rock, and the year it was on. And there were protests and there were anti-protests. It was crazy, and so then it kind of died down, and then everyone was like, it was like a pariah, kind of in the music business, and. So all of a sudden, the Valley Girl director, Martha Coolidge, was contacting us, and it was funny. My manager at the time, who was also one of the Payne brothers, Larson Payne, he actually started hanging. He thought it was not real, and he would just kind of be rude to her and hung up on her and no, we're not interested, and no. I was just talk to her. My goodness, and they just I thought it was very brave because of them to even want that song, because it had been banned, and it was not it was not something that was going to guarantee them any kind of audience, because it was just so iffy what was going to happen around that song, and so yeah, they wanted it, and they actually wanted a song I had written, and I stupidly said, "Oh no, well, you should do this song because it's more relevant to the movie." But that was that was something I always wonder about. But yeah, they just were, just kept being persistent, and finally my manager. Relented, and we did it. It went pretty quickly. We did it in one day.
You're not alone, because I remember Berlin did a song called "Sex, I'm a Man," and that was heavily scrutinized as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. But it was this song. It was about the word. The word drove people crazy. Like. Sex, everyone has said sex for a long time, but no one had said that word in a public, setting before. And no one, before, it used to mean odd, and then when it became derogatory, and that's, and then, now that they own the word. They can't be insulted by it. They own it, And so diffused it. The ugliness that was, connected to it before, it was totally diffused.
I got the Berlin song on my phone as well. Listen.
Well, you better get Terry out here.
Yeah. Listen, yeah, I'd love to get Terry Nunn on here, yeah. Yeah, the album Pleasure Victim was fantastic. What was it like being on camera and shooting that scene and Valley Girl and performing for the movie?
Well, it was funny because it was freezing, and it was kind of in an empty school. It must have been on They must have been on vacation, or it was abandoned, or something. But it was so freezing, and there was one tiny little heater, and it was raining, and the things were leaking, and we just all were just like freezing our butts off in the corners with this one tiny electric heater. It was unbelievably uncomfortable, and there was like one tiny mirror, and there are all these actors, one of them put their makeup on, and there was no mirrors, and there was no. I think it was an abandoned school, because there should have been mirrors at least in the bathroom, right? There was no chairs. It was okay. We're in a concentration camp. Is that the plot of the movie? Because I don't know what's happening. And so that was a fun day, though, and just going through the song and meeting all the people, and Nicolas Cage was super nice, and everybody,
E.J. Daly.
Yeah, she was super, and she was at the event the other night, and she's really a great gal.
Yeah, I've had a few people from the movie on here, Heidi Holika, of course, sang your praises when I was talking to her this week.
Well, she's a sweetheart. I'll sing her praises too.
Yeah, I love Heidi. Heidi's a lot of fun. I'm planning to have her on again next year when she's got other projects coming up, because she's involved, of course, in Rick Baker's production company as well. So
nice.
Oh yeah, she's like a multitasker, writing, producing, involved in that, all the stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all went out to eat after it was over, and she was. We sat right by the booth that Sharon Tate had her last meal before Charles Manson got a hold of her. So that was a little eerie after the really fun Valley Girl night, and then right with Sharon Tate's.
Well, we'll applaud Sharon Tate as far as Charles Manson goes. We'll spit on that name.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, a lot of people, and I'm not in any way excusing the people that killed her, but he can't sit there and say that he wasn't responsible. He's full of shit.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so amazing about his arrest is he was arrested for it without, having any physical contact. So that was kind of brilliant lawyering, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I often said, and I talk about Sharon Tate, I like to talk about Valley of the Dolls and stuff like that. I try not to bring up Charles Manson, because you know what? It ends up giving him attention that he doesn't deserve.
Yeah, I'm sorry I brought it up.
Yeah. No, that's all right. I'm not offended, but the idea that you were sitting in the last booth that she was at before.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
so that was a little crazy, but it was in a Mexican restaurant, so it was just an odd, one of these, Hollywood, tours you take where it's all this macabre stuff has happened, and that was just happened to be one of them that night.
Yeah. Did you eat what she ate?
I tried to ask what she had so I wouldn't eat what she ate.
Oh. What did she eat? Did you find out?
I don't think they really remember it.
She had food.
That would be super macabre if they actually put that on the menu. We don't want that. No. No, but what was it like working with under the direction of Martha Coolidge? Well, she's just she's an incredible gal. She's super brilliant and a very giving producer, director. It was everything you could want. Really, I mean, no complaints. I don't know what to ask for, but she was, lovely.
Who all went to the Mexican restaurant, besides you and Heidi?
Oh well, E.G. went with her friend, and I went with Gary Myrick, and some of the people I honestly didn't know everyone I was seeing, but I think the producer was there, and some of the other actors. It was a giant table, and so there were faces. I'm sure they have names. I don't know all of them. Sorry.
Okay. Well, that was a really good movie, and Valley Girl had a great soundtrack. After I was done playing my interview with Heidi that I did back in January, I ended up playing A Million Miles Away by the Plimsolls, because I know she loves that song, and so do I.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was a great...
Yeah, they were there at the event, at the reunion, the Plimsolls, and and I love that band.
Yep. Yeah, they sang that. They sang "Zero Hour" that was in The Last American Virgin. So they've got a lot of great songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that song by Spark, "Eaten by the Monster of Love."
Right. You gotta love those guys. They are just classic.
And let's not
classic
forget
something. I'm not sure what you're classic of, but it is classic.
I think that's a funny song with the scene that it was accompanying.
Right.
Yep. And of course, let's not forget Modern English, I'm Melting You, that's a big song in the movie.
Yeah, I think that was the romantic takeaway in that movie. And, the Psychedelic Furs, of course, my favorites.
Yes.
All-time 80s band, I think.
Do you have a favorite scene in Valley Girl?
Favorite scene in Valley Girl? Okay, I've not been asked this question. Well, I mean, I think so much of that movie was about Nicolas Cage. I think he was so engaging, and some of his looks were, and it happened throughout, but his little smiles and kind of knowing little flirtations were just so adorable. But the director Marceau did talk about how he was hired. I don't know if you've heard this story about when his picture was brought to them, and all these beautiful guys, and she was saying, "I don't want a pretty boy." And she started looking through all these photographs, and the very last one was Nicolas Cage, his contact sheet for to present to all the directors, and she said, "I want someone not that good looking, like this guy. Who's this guy?" It was Nicolas Cage. And so they called him in, and she didn't know he was related to, the director he's related to.
Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, so she brought him in. I mean, she thought he wasn't cute, but I thought he was adorable. And I think all the girls did. So,
everybody loved his chest hair, the diamond chest hair.
Yeah, that he did that on his own. That was he went home and did that on his own. That was all out of his brain.
Yeah, and of course, Johnny Are You Queer was also...
Ed Jr.
Yeah. What's that?
That's the actor.
Oh,
That's
Ed...
the actor who was on the park bench with me.
I
just remembered.
Oh, Ed... would you say the name again?
Ed Begley Jr.
Okay, yes, I do know that name.
Yes, he's been in tons of stuff.
Oh, gee, he was in Cat People, was he not?
I can't imagine him in that, but if you say so, but I can't see him as a cat. But but he was in a ton of stuff, and movies and TV, and then he's a real activist in the environmental world. So, but yes, thank God I remember that.
Okay.
That would have been too embarrassing forever.
Okay. I was just seeing what he had listed here for his. Oh well. Yeah, Ed Begley Jr. Yes, I do know that name.
And he had a long-running TV show, and was obviously comedic actor from that character he was playing.
Yep. Wow. Okay. So he was the one. Oh, geez, got a lot of great credits here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. He's been in a lot of great movies. Holy cow. I knew the name, but I haven't looked at anything that closely. I've even seen stuff he's done recently. He's not one of these right in your face actors, and I think that's what makes him good.
Yeah, I think people who are character actors have such a better life than the ones who are like you say, in your face and just giant stars. I think that would be kind of miserable.
I was right. He was in Cat People.
He was in what?
He was in Cat People.
He was?
Yep. That and Eating Raoul and Young Doctors in Love, and I thought
Eating Raoul was a fun movie. That was a good one.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I knew the name. He gets his arm ripped out of his socket in it.
Nice.
Yeah, and Cat People. I was like, I remembered that. Didn't like that.
He was one of the victims. He was one of the meals of the cat.
Well, I think he survived it, but still.
That's funny.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I knew when you mentioned the name. I know that name from somewhere, so there you go. Yep. Okay.
God bless Google.
God bless Google, that's right.
Or something.
Yeah.
Blessing it. I don't know if it's God, but they have quite a lot of mojo right now.
Yeah. Well, Valley Girl I loved, and of course you also provide that same song for the Jackass #2 as well.
Yeah, that was great. That they played that song. It's the only time I ever saw Johnny Knoxville cry, and I think that's why they used that song, because that's when the snake bit his arm and he started bleeding, and there were tears, and that song is playing. It's kind of a hilarious moment. And then it was also on the John Waters, A Date with John Waters, Disturbing Love Songs for the Ages.
Okay.
It was on there, and because he loved that song, which proves it's not homophobic. If John Waters loves it.
John Waters likes anything that's off from society.
Yes, that's right. Anything that's off. Disturbing Love Songs of the Ages. That's his byline on the record. I love that. Mm-hmm. So, I like things that are, touching and disturbing at the same time, funny and sad, all of it together.
Talk about working with Ed Begley during that video. How did he get involved with that?
I have no idea. There was just a guy on a bench, and we just played the song a few times. I don't think he'd ever heard the song, so he was reacting in the moment.
Okay.
which is pretty great.
Well, I thought it was very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was more, I think he's more of a geeky guy. I don't think there's any chance he was a gay guy. Just his lack of fashion sense, for one thing.
Well, I love the album Convertible Music, and I gotta ask about a few songs. Of course, you mentioned, He Could Be the One, of course, also on Valley Girl. Talk about that song.
That's the Payne Brothers wrote that song as well, and I don't know, people seem to really remember and love that song. Some more than Johnny, so I sing that song, and I didn't sing it for years and years, and but I just was there was an 80s festival I was supposed to do that it got canceled, but I had to relearn that song, and I kind of liked liked it again. I just, you go through phases with songs if you're more in love with them, or you don't care for them, and depending on where you are in your life, I guess. So that was one of the ones I kind of fell back in love with singing.
Well, one of the things I like to do when I have musicians on here, I love to talk about songs that weren't singles, because, you hear stuff playing on the radio, but there's always those other cuts that don't get that kind of attention. So you got some on here that I definitely want to ask you about. Rockin' Love, I really liked.
I love that song, and that was one of the ones we would have preferred a different song, so he could be the one. Systematic Way was also something that we thought would have been a great single, and No Pictures of Dad. That's always kind of, destroyed me a little that the world didn't hear that song in any great extent. That's just a beautiful, incredible song.
Yeah, I love Rockin' Love. So Close, I like that one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well, that's a song I wrote, and just kind of a silly little pop ditty.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too deep there.
Well, it's got a nice sound to it.
Pardon me?
It's got a nice sound to it.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Waiting for Your Love. Well, I guess you could say that to Ed Begley.
Yeah. That was the first song I wrote that the Payne brothers produced, because I had a bunch of songs, but this was the first one, and that was when I realized, oh my God, they can make my songs just live. Because I'd never worked with real producers before, like on that level. So that was like, oh my God, I can trust these people.
Yeah, and there's I Need the Night Tonight, and Tell Him. You get some good songs on here.
Yeah, and there's some good ones. And
what's your favorite song on the album?
I would have to say. Well, I think Systematic Way and No Pictures of Dad are my favorites from that record.
Okay.
But I love Rockin' Love too. It's really hard to say.
Oh yeah.
Pick one.
Well, one of the things I like to do when I get a chance on my live shows, I like to play songs that don't necessarily have the airplay. I think radio in many ways, they play these what they call hits, and then people get tired of them, And right. I think it really damages music more than helps it. And
I have to agree with that. I think that's a true statement.
Yeah. So I like to go through and listen to other songs, and of course, Convertible Music. That was your first album. What was it like making that album and releasing it? That feeling, because that first album, that's got to be most trying to do that.
Well, we'd already had a hit single with Johnny and Let's Do the Blackout. So we kind of I'd already heard myself on the radio driving down, the Pacific Coast Highway, and that's the moment I remember of just hearing yourself, the song you recorded on the radio, and people are liking it, and life seems pretty grand at that moment. That's every recording artist has that moment, and that was mine. So by the time we went to Elektra, it was trying. It was that was a giant label, and this was a very controversial song, so they didn't know quite what was going on at the time, and they were it was a thing where they didn't really understand me as an artist, I think, and but in the beginning they were excited, and and it just became. I kind of wish I'd stayed with Bump Records. That was my first label, because they weren't afraid of that song. They're the ones who made it into an international sensation. Elektra really, really, they were cowardly. I would go so far as to say that they did not want the, but that's why they signed me. So this never made sense to me.
Yeah. Of course, you went from convertible music to From the Hip. Now, your albums after that, I don't know, but we're going to talk about them so we can put them out there.
Okay.
But I don't have anything to click on for these further songs, but I want you to promote them on here. So you followed convertible music, which I definitely have heard that, and From the Hip followed up. What was it like going from that first record to the second? Was it an easier process?
No, it was actually became. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but at that point they fired my producers, and it was they got they had changed CEOs a few times, and it got all crazy with Roy Thomas Baker coming in and taking over the record, and so at the end it was I got dropped pretty quickly after that record came out, and although Jimmy Loves Marianne did pretty well off that record, but and I was dropped, and then I went on my own. I did a third record that I never released because I was so done and frazzled by the music business. I did not care for, I don't know. I was so shocked that they weren't more business-like. I kept saying, "Can't Coca-Cola manage me? Like, why is this so hard to get records in the stores? And why, this and that?" But the record the third record never had a name, but I thought it was lost. And actually, we just found all these old, 2-inch 24-track tapes, and we remastered it, remixed it, and we're putting it out. And it's really my lost record. It's and that's going to be coming out on Cleopatra Records in September.
Okay.
And so Brian Setzer is all over that record, and because he was good friends with Larson Payne, and so that's an '80s record that was never saw the light of day, and then I went completely off-brand after that. I did a record called "Frightened by Nightingales."
Yeah, I love that title.
Yeah, kind of a Western cabaret, like demented, strange eeriness going on with that, and I got to be a real singer, and what I consider real singing, and I just wanted to do something that Josie Cotton would never do, and be experimental. And at that point, I started putting things out on my own record labels, and which gave me a lot of freedom to experiment and do all kinds of music, which I needed to do. I could never have just stayed in the 80s. I don't know how people do that. I had so many different styles and things I wanted to say and create. So, I've had 3 different record companies of my own, and probably imperfectly executed. I would safely say that, but it gave me so much freedom to be an artist. And so there was Frightened by Nightingales, and there was Invasion of the Movie Disaster Music, which was
you got 3 by Scruffy here.
Yeah, that was my label, Scruffy Records. Put out Movie Disaster Music and Invasion of the B-Girls, which is all theme songs from B-movies from the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
And that was John Waters wrote the liner notes on that one. And then Pussycat Babylon was the last one. And now we're doing new things. So I've always had a record company and a recording studio, so I never stopped making records. I just didn't always release them to the world. So we're re-releasing all the stuff. So it's going to be wonderful to actually do it correctly this time.
Yeah, I find, and I hear these stories a lot of record executives or whatever, and you hear these even on film projects, why so many movies don't pan out well because somebody's vision gets compromised, you know?
Yes.
And yeah, and I hear that in you. You have a vision, and somebody wants you to go write "Oh Baby Baby" love songs, you know, and those are so empty, whereas you got something very different to present that they're nervous about. But you know what? I think different is good. The public needs different.
Well, but you know, with the conflict with that I've always found, so, you know, I when I did the Frightened by Nightingales, which is, you know, I did lose some of my fan base. I have to admit, and people who would have liked the record are nervous that I'm going to sound like I did in Valley Girl, for instance. So I kind of lose my new fans because they think I'm like the old, but I've lost my old fans. So you're just like, you know, just like dancing in the dark at that point. It's like I'm putting this out into the universe, and like I'm going to send it out like a satellite into the night and just see what happens, because I don't know who is going to hear it, or you know how it's going to happen. But I have to keep putting things out into the universe, and hopefully something's going to come back to me.
Yes. Do you have a favorite of your albums?
I think there's two. The last one I did is more electronica, the Pussycat Babylon. Actually, that's my highest rated. I did a song called "See the New Hong Kong," and that actually got higher charts than anything I've ever done. That was about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And a couple of songs off that record. And then my other favorite one is the B movie, because I'm like a horror movie, B movie like nut. Since I was a little girl, just science fiction and not the really bloody stuff like Saw or stuff like that. I can't, where people are actually in pain. I just don't want to go there once in a while. But I just love all the really trashy, funny, ridiculous B movies from that era. And I was threatened to be sued by John Waters and the director of Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. So so there were obstacles. They didn't want me to put some of these things out, and oddly, no one had ever done this before. No one had ever done theme songs from B movies before with a female theme, and with all female leads or female singers or whatever. But so that was amazing, experience. And I had to pay for Godzilla's roar, because we did this one song, "Goodbye Godzilla." It's a love song to Godzilla, and she truly is a size queen, this gal, because she's a little Asian lady, and she's in love with Godzilla. But it's done completely. And I do another song where I sing in Japanese to the little in one of the movies where they're singing to Mothra, and then Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, I did a song from that, and Green Slime, and
I love Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Oh my God, that movie changed my life. And Russ Myers, I just fell in love with his whole persona and the music. I redid the song Beyond, actually the theme song, because the record was theme songs, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, what the Sandpipers did. And it's like the chord changes are just, you just can't believe the musicality in that song. It's like every bar is several chords going on, and it's beautiful melody, and it's like this funny lyrics, but it's so sad too. It's my favorite thing, funny with sad at the same time.
Yeah, I've interviewed 3 people from Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
No kidding.
Yeah, I've had Harrison Page,
wow.
Dolly Reed Martin, and
Oh.
I love Dolly, and I've had Marcia McBroom on.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I should send you the CD, Invasion of the Bee Girls.
Yeah.
And because it's a total homage. There's not a synthesizer on it. It's all real instruments. I had the Tower of Power playing horns on Girl in Gold Boots. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but it's like the worst go-go dancer in history, basically.
Okay.
Who has this giant career. But it's just hilarious.
So you say Russ Myers and John Waters threaten to sue you?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
you wouldn't think they'd do that.
Well, the thing was, around the time John Waters was putting Johnny Aquir on his A Date with John Waters, I was finishing up this B-movie record, and so he was asking for permission, and I said, well, it's funny, because I'm doing a record of all B-movies, and I know you love them, and I sent him the record, and I had recorded Female Trouble.
Okay.
Because that's one of the great B-movies of all time, and it's a female lead. That was my other criteria, and he said, oh, no, you can't do this song. And we'd already mastered it. It was all done, and, about to be printed up, and he said, no, I'm doing a compilation of all Divine songs, and if you do this, then, he says, you're, one of my favorite singers, and I would want you to do it, and it sounds fantastic, but everybody in the world will be able to do it once you do it, because just the legality of it,
Okay.
that's illegal. And he says, I've sued many people over this, and he said, I can't let you do it, and then he felt so bad he wrote my liner notes for the
Yeah.
But we had to record a whole other song, and that was Who Killed Teddy Bear, which is a ridiculous movie about someone in love with a teddy bear and is killing a lot of people, through this teddy bear. It's just insane. But there's a beautiful song, and that was the theme song. So, but I still have this song. I'm trying to reach him to see if when we re-release it, we're re-releasing all these records, and if I can just stick it on there, it's so great with Tower of Power, Female Trouble, and I don't know, I'm just really hoping he'll say yes. I'm heard I can legally do it without his permission, but I really want his blessing. So
you know what? Weird Al Yankovic has the same thing. You could do a parody of something, but he really wants the blessing of the artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of honor behind that, and I can see why you would prefer his blessing on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he never put out the compilation of Divine either. So that was like eight years ago. So I'm hoping I can find someone who is really close to me. I mean, I know him, and we've had interactions when he was threatening to sue me. But he was always a gentleman about it. He was, he's kind of like a Civil War general. His whole persona is very formal, like darling, kind of a gay Civil War general, I would say, but very glib. And funny, hilarious, but but I'm not tight with him like someone who could represent me and just go, hey, yo, John, let her people go. I just really love to. I still do it live because it's such an incredible song, and he wrote it.
Yeah. No. So. Is your CDs? I know you can order let's see. I'm getting this in front. Convertible music. Can you order all your CDs?
Well, here's the reason we decided to re-release everything, and I had to start another record company because there's so many illegal kind of selling of my music, and also some of it's not even available. I'm hard to get a hold of in that sense. Some of them have just disappeared, and so we're going to just do this a much different way here. And answer to your question, no, you can't get them all, but I'll send them all to you if you would like. On my website, I have them all for sale. JosieCottonMusic.com, and they're all for sale on my website.
Okay.
But the stores and even the streaming, it's very strange.
Well, I would prefer to do it so that you get the money for it.
Oh, well, bless your little heart.
Yes. Yeah. You're my guest. I mean, come on now. I prefer to do it that way.
Yeah, but I would like just to give you one at the same time, so give you all of them. So.
Well, you don't have to do that.
I want to do that.
You want to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when we're done this interview, you want me to give you my mailing address?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Well, when we're done this interview, I'll give you my mailing address. That way I don't give it out while I'm live recording.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. But, no, I would love that. But,
You got that.
Yeah. But, yeah, that sounds great. And you mentioned some movies there that I'd never heard of, like I Killed Teddy Bear?
Who Killed Teddy Bear?
Who cared? What is that?
It was actually a really high-end movie. It was a whole lot of money put into it, but it was so, I guess, kind of bloody with this, it was a serial killer. Sal Mineo was actually the star of it, and there was a big backlash. It's like a whole big legend about that movie, how it we could not see the light of day because of the content. It was a B movie done as a full feature film, and I guess they just lost so much money, and that became very hard to find also. But yeah, so I found that. I'm doing a volume 2, and I'm looking for material. If you know of any really cool twisted B movie theme songs, I'm all in.
Wow. Well, I think I could probably dig some stuff up for you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I interview a lot of people from cult films.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Did you ever see She Devils on Wheels? Because I did a song from that movie, Get Off the Road, but the Maneaters was the band in the movie. I did a video for that too. It basically, in order to join the gang, you have to kill every man you know, especially if you love him.
Oh, gee.
But it's hilarious. I mean, it shows my demented nature. But it's so funny. It's just bad writing and ridiculous, and it's just great. So I did a song from that, and yeah. So yeah, if you can dig them up, I will sell. It's hard to find them because there was a very famous store in LA called Mondo Video, and they've closed down. But that's where I got all my they were videos that I rented, and I had the longest. I had the highest late charge of anyone in their whole history. They've been doing it for like decades. And without them just keeping all the videos, and I came in one day and I said, how much do I owe? I'd kept them like a year, like 20 different or more, and it was hundreds of dollars. He said, no one's ever come back after that, and he gave me a big hug. It was so sweet. And I could have bought them all, like for that amount of money, but I just said, no, let's do this. And after that, we were really close friends, this guy. Mondo Video. Yep. So there's no place to find them now. Is what I'm saying. Like you can't. Dave disappeared from being able to get the really obscure ones. I always loved the movie Alice in Acidland, which is an incredible B movie, but there was no theme song, however, and. But you can't even find these. You would think that now with Amazon you could find all these movies, but it's actually much harder because you can't really. No one can refer you to it. It's just thousands of things to go through. Like how do you pick how you listen to every movie for the theme song, or it's an impossible task. I've tried it, and it's like, oh my God, how many do I have to watch before I know there's going to be a song in it?
Wow, I'd never heard of some of these movies.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And did you heard of Invasion of the Bee Girls? That's why I named it.
Yeah, I know that one. I actually reached out to
Yeah.
one of the actresses for an interview, but
really?
never heard back.
Well, that was my homage. The title was an homage to that, but it was B-E-E, like Bee Girls, but this was B as in B movie girls.
Yep.
And they were foxy female scientists who killed men during sex for their blood. I love that theme too. That's like great.
I was like, I think one years old. I think it was 1973. I think that came out, so I would have been one.
Yeah,
Yep.
You know what? I didn't. I was late to coming into the B movie world. I was always a science fiction since a little girl, but someone played me a Russ Meyer movie, that Faster Pussycat Kill Kill.
Yeah, I know
like,
that one.
What? I did a song from that one too, and but it was like that. My mind was just warped into another dimension when I saw that movie. It was like, oh my God, and I wrote a whole series of articles for Magnet Magazine about all these movies and that I did songs for and everything, and it was so great to really analyze what the feelings I was having. I couldn't explain until I actually wrote them down and analyzed it. It was like, okay, now I understand my reaction to this, but it was purely emotional, and then I could understand why I was so excited by Russ Meyer's. Not the crazy, booby movies later, but these couple of ones that were just, I don't know.
And you say
incredible.
he tried to sue you as well?
Well, I recorded that record quite a while ago when he was still alive, and I called. There was a number someone had given me, and it was his number, and I knew his voice from interviews and everything, and even in some of those movies, and so I had his number, and he picked up the phone, and I said, "Is this Russ Meyer?" And he said, "Yes," and I said, "Well, this is Josie Cotton, and I really want to record some of your songs from your movies, these two in particular movies, Faster Pussycat Kill Kill and Beyond the Valley of the Dolls." And he said, "Oh no, you can't do that. You won't be allowed to do that." And I said, "Really? Why is that?" He said, "You'll be sued till the end of time." I will never forget the words exactly. I'm quoting him. "You'll be sued till the end of time." And I thought, okay. And later I realized he was talking about the movie company. He wasn't talking about himself, because he had a bad parting with the movie company. So at the time I thought he was, being aggressive a little bit with me about he would sue me. But then I realized after I was writing about him, I said, no, he was talking about the movie company. They were going to come after me till the end of time, because he was actually a really swell fellow. I mean, he was kind of wonderful.
Yeah.
So so he maybe it was a warning that I would be sued till the end of time, but it did come from his lips.
Wow. Yeah, he was kind of a daring individual, just like John Waters.
Just like that.
Yes.
Yes.
In any other movies that you used to highlight on this?
You mean on that record?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I mean, the only one I did that wasn't female themed, because it just seemed to me when I started researching, and I found that there were all these incredible, strong females, like in the era when a lot of in regular movies there weren't any really strong, badass women, but they were all in the B movies. And I thought, oh my God, the Mummy versus the Aztec wrestling women. That was an amazing.
Did you ever see
from Mexico?
Did you ever see Miss 45?
No.
Ah, I love that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have to find that.
Yeah, the late Zoe Tamerlis Lund is in it. I've done 4 tribute interviews on her
No
with her
way.
widow. Yeah, her widow's come on 4 times.
Wow, so you're
Yeah,
a movie guy, huh?
yeah. It was
Oh,
directed by Abel Ferreira, and
I don't know who that is.
well, he did Bad Lieutenant, and she was in that as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, well, she was the redhead that was poking Harvey Keitel with a needle.
Oh boy.
Well,
Okay.
well, she is in Miss 45. She doesn't have red
I
hair in
see.
Miss 45, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and yeah. So there's some great movies that didn't have theme songs, but the one song that I had to do that didn't fit into my my vision of this record was I found this really obscure movie that no one had really heard about at the time, called Black Klansman, and that was the only. I broke my own rule, and that was that was the original movie that just got remade. But that song, it's not in this new movie, but it was so incredible, and it was so, you had to get permission from all these kind of obscure songwriters that wrote these B-movie theme songs, and that one was the most obscure, and I think it ended up somewhere in like Alabama in a trailer park. This family is surviving, and no one would admit to having known anyone who wrote that song, and I knew they were relatives of the writer. They were so embarrassed, but it's a beautiful song, the Black Klansman, on that record, and it's very respectful. There's the guy was an idealist, the guy who wrote it, and the director, and they were it was very inspired kind of individuals, but at the same time it's hilarious and my favorite thing, and so that was the only one that wasn't didn't fit the criteria, and there's one more. I'm lying now. Green Slime was actually, there was no female lead in that, unless the Green Slime was a female.
Wow.
They never say.
I never heard of that movie either.
You never heard of Green Slime?
No, except for Nickelodeon.
Oh, Green Slime. It's like it's a R&B thing. It's like total 70s greatness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sending it to you. You're gonna get some new material here.
Okay, sounds great. I'm always
Okay.
open to that.
Yeah.
So, do you have any charities that you're involved in that you want to plug on here?
Well, I belong to a lot of charities, actually.
Okay.
And I've actually recently done more research than I had done before, and I have learned that the Humane Society is actually one of the most amazing ones, because most of their money goes actually to the animals, unlike some other really famous ones that I could say, but probably I don't want to do anything to hurt the animals. I'm an animal person. I give to a lot of horse charities and donkey rescues.
Mm-hmm.
There was I would say the Humane Society is a wonderful organization. I have a whole list of these charities that I don't actually have in front of me, so there's about 20 of them, and they're but I would say the the donkey one, what is that? They're like an amazing animals, and oh my goodness, my memory now is really giving me trouble. I'm going to have to get back with you on that, about all these names. I have a whole list. They're all in my will, all these charities. But yeah, and I noticed you have the word hyena in your name.
On the python hyena.
I am a lover of hyenas.
I love the spotted hyena.
I love them. I used to not, and then I saw this one picture of this baby hyena, and it was smiling. And at one point on Facebook, I had that as my profile picture. And I said, if you don't love him, you can't love me. because he was the cutest thing. They're amazing.
Yeah.
I love raccoons. I was the queen of the raccoons for a while when I lived up in the hills in Malibu. And coyotes, and would feeding all the coyotes, and you're not supposed to do that, but they're dogs. Hello people, they're dogs. And so I will have to get my list. Peaceful Valley is the name of the donkey rescue in Texas. Peaceful Valley.
I didn't know there was a donkey rescue.
Oh my God, they're amazing. They're like dogs. They're so sweet and gentle, and they really have it rough. They're herded up, and a lot of that meat goes to Asia. They love horse meat, and horses go through hell.
Yeah.
Just being transported, and even people's pets and race horses, and they just ship them off and have them for dinner. And I'm just so, I don't know. It's something that I think about it like every day. I'm a little, obsessed with the fate of the animals, actually.
Yeah, I've got some people on our road that own a couple horses, and they get a nice big area, and they always watch me drive by.
The horses?
Yeah. But
well, yeah, I mean they're very they're very magical. The horses, the horse whisperer is, they actually can hear humans. You can actually tame a wild horse by communicating to it, in this very gentle way. They're quite amazing.
yes, absolutely. No, I love animals of all kinds, and especially love African wildlife. That's what I like to watch on YouTube a lot, is African wildlife.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love giraffes. Did you ever watch that show where they had the strange animal relationships? Like there'd be these friendships between species who are not supposed to like each other at all. There was one that was it was a giraffe and I think it was a little baby goat or something, and they had this love affair going on. They were in love, and they spent all the time together. And I don't know. There was a great show for a while. It was just the craziest relationships with animals who aren't, who are supposed to be like killing each other in nature, but it's actually adorable to see cats and dogs together, for instance, or
I saw one where an elephant was friends with a dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I love that. Yeah,
Yep.
that makes me so happy. And the elephants. I can't watch African wildlife shows anymore, though, because it just hurts me to the core to see animals being hurt. I can't. If there's anything on Africa, I have to turn it off. And any animal show, really, I'll be upset for weeks if I see something. And I have so much in my head. I can't do it. And people say, well, don't you ever want to go to people's charities? I go, well, some people have a calling to do that. My calling is the animals.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my heart is. That's where you can pierce right into me in that world. And there's other people going to take care of people.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever there's like a tsunami or something, and they show these films, and I go I'm wanting the people to get out of the way so I can see if the animals are okay. I'm awful.
Well, I do like watching African videos, just people that are on safaris that are just watching the animals, That's kind of my window in a way, but I don't like seeing animals mistreated.
Well, that's what I was talking about, like documentaries and stuff. Or my president's sons going over and just decimating,
Yeah, I agree with you. Yep.
Yeah, I could like hurt somebody, thinking about that. I just really upsets me.
Yep. No, yeah. I agree with you. I saw those pictures. I was disgusted by them.
and the cruel look on his face. He's like, "What? You're not even going to smile? Like, I thought this was fun. Why do you look so mean as you're doing it at the same time?" It's like, God.
Well, it's a good thing. A good thing he had that gun, because you know what would happen if he didn't have it.
Yeah, I would come and get him. Just
Actually, you don't have to, because I'm going to tell you, I saw a video. It ended badly, but I'm going to tell you there was a little bit of justice. There was this group that were I guess they were hunting leopard, and there was patches of blood on the ground, and they could hear the leopard. Well, the leopard's not stupid. He knew who had shot at him and wounded him. He came out of nowhere and mauled the guy who shot him. Of course, his handlers ended up shooting the leopard, but the leopard injured that guy big time.
Well, that is justice.
Yep. So, yeah, to hear that guy scream.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know. So, it's just, I never understood the concept, like, oh, what a beautiful animal. I want to kill it because it's so beautiful. I'm like, what? Don't kill it. Let it live.
Yep. Well, I'm not a vegetarian by any means, but at the same token, it's like, I see your point, I don't like seeing animals abused either.
Yeah.
Yep. But these people...
We're off into some, kind of sad subject right now. We should, talk about something more fun,
positive? Well, we were talking about charities. You got any other charities?
We were talking about charities.
Yeah.
And I did come up with the, the Humane Society. It's like 80% of their money goes, and one of the really top ones that's all vegan and all stuff. I won't say their name, but they hardly have any money go to the animals, and I was shocked. And they're huge. I'm not going to say their name.
Okay. No, that's all right.
Yeah.
I hear about stuff like that too. In fact, I had a guest send me some stuff in the mail, and I offered to donate to a charity, and he said he's not involved with one anymore because the one he was involved with, there was a scandal involved with it that really took him off guard.
Did he mention their name on your podcast?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because once in a while they'll go and do some incredible. They'll get hired by the chicken industry or the cat ranches in China, where they're raising them for their fur, and they do undercover stuff. So I think that's important because you get all these visuals of what's actually happening, but so I wouldn't want that to stop. So I'm not going to say anything. But
okay.
I just know that I want it to go to the animals when I donate something.
Yes.
And you can and there's companies that research, who is, the percentage of the money that goes actually to them, and then there's companies who research the researchers. And I went that on that level last time. I was trying to figure it all out, in the researchers of the animal groups is where I ended up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any favorite animals now we're on that topic?
Well, I mean, I have a lot. I fall in love with different breeds of animals all the time. And I fell in love with raccoons when I was living up in the hills, and I made friends with baby raccoons, and they were always in my lap and kissing me, and they were just incredible. Being in contact with wild animals is such an amazing, I don't know. There's really, the last animal that I didn't love was the hyena, and then I saw that face, and so I have to say I've fallen in love over time with every single, maybe not a hippopotamus. I don't know.
No?
Well, I didn't. Did you know that they're like really violent and they're really scary? I always thought they were so cute and. they're actually like real menacing creatures in Africa.
Yeah, well, I've heard from people that have been to Africa. They say they're, I guess word around the campfire is they're responsible for more human deaths or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, they're very territorial.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and they're not real, cuddly looking. The hippos, but I, all of them, every creature. But it was funny when I was when I was living, there were all these crows, who were incredible. If you're around crows and you can hear the sounds they make when they don't think anyone's listening, and it's so sweet. But I would give them. They loved bagels. I don't know why, but they started taking these bagels, and I would look up in the sky, and there'd be this beautiful, giant, like, crow with a bagel in its mouth, and that just always made me laugh. It was just the image, like, oh, nature and irony together.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there. So, you say you've got another album coming up in there in the future.
Yeah,
you want to talk a little more about that?
Yeah, it's the missing record, and it's called Everything Is Oh Yeah, and it's all the original. We didn't re-record anything. We just so that's coming out. But I also have a single coming out in Italy right now on this little label. Oh my gosh, it's little. Forgive me, Italy. But anyway, so that's all over my, my Instagram and Facebook. But and then I have another single I'm doing, and we're re-releasing all these records, and then I have new material I'm doing. So I'm really busy making music again. I was gone for a while. So and I do that every now and then. I burrow under the hillsides, and I come out and I go, I have one more song to do, one more record.
Well, I think it's great that you're involved in all these projects and these charities, and I like the fact that you're innovative. You're willing to do things that are different, have your own sound, as opposed to be just like everybody else. I think that's a plus.
Thank you. I mean, I just can't imagine just having to have done just 80s music all this time. Like, how on earth do you not go mad? I would have ripped my hair out on stage and eaten my own arm. Like, I was like, like somebody shoot her. I don't have the maybe it's patience, or I just couldn't endure it. I would be just bored to tears if I had done that. I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
No.
But I know that's what some people. That's how they remember me. And I did my my first 80s festival. I turned so many of them down, and now I think it's been enough time. I want to do that for people who love that music. It was really fun getting ready for that festival that got canceled. But John Lydon was going to be in it, and the Bangles, and a bunch of great people. It was going to be in the Romantics and all these 80s. Like, you don't have to win the audience over. They just love the 80s. So I'm circling back a little bit to do some of my old stuff now.
Okay, well, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Listen, is there anything else you want to promote on here before we start?
Oh, no, I think we've done some good promoting here, and thank you so much. It was really fun talking with you. Yeah,
well, before I let you go, I'm going to get you to do a plug for my show.
Sure. This is Josie Cotton with Greg. What's your last name?
Gilbert.
You're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise in New Brunswick, Canada.
There you go. There you go.
Did I get it?
Yeah.
You can piece it together in the editing room.
I think I can do that. Yeah. No, it was wonderful having you come on here. What do you think all these years Valley Girl is still celebrated?
I don't know, but I call it the movie that won't die. I lovingly say that because no, I'm kidding. I think I have no idea. I have no answer to that. It's one of these phenomena. It's kind of like Johnny, Are You Queer? They just keep going, and people remember them. I do think some of that was the message of the movie, and I do think that was a period in music that a lot of that music in that movie was not mainstream. It was all alternative music. Yep. And it's the first time people heard it, a vast amount of it together in a public forum like the movies. So it wasn't allowed on a lot of radio stations. So I think that era of music got encapsulated in that movie in a really wonderful way. They really chose I shouldn't say this about myself, but they chose some wonderful artists and musicians of that time, and I think that was a magical time in music, in that period. So I think they did it was a brilliant, move to do that.
Well, I think you are one of the wonderful artists. I mean,
oh, but you can't say it about yourself.
I'll say it about you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, and
anyway, okay, great. Well, gosh, really fun talking with you.
It was a lot of fun talking to you too, and yes, I would gladly have you come back on the show. I'm gonna put you down on my list for next year. That way, you'll have. That should give you time to have a lot more new material to talk about.
I'll have a bunch of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I'll put you down, and we'll have you back on.
Johnny, Are You Queer was on AM radio in Canada. It was the only place in the world that it was on AM radio. It was like in the top 10 back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I always thought that was interesting. I should have mentioned that on your show, but
yeah, well, actually, I'm still recording. I'm just going to edit a lot of this, but I'm going to keep that in. That would be an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah. I thought that was it was very progressive. They wouldn't play it here, but they sure did. They sure did play it up there.
Yeah. No. I like the innovation. I like what you're doing, and I was honored to have you come on the show. So this is a thrill for me, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Well, God bless you, and you take care. Keep making great music, and keep following your dreams.
Thanks, Greg. You do the same.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, sweetie. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.